Hey folks, so it's time for a refresh for my succulent Buddha bowl. So if you recall, maybe a couple years ago, I made this. It was in a beautiful Corten steel wide mouth bowl, and this was silver before, but you could see just with Corten steel, the idea is that it ages and it starts to rust. I think it looks really beautiful. The rust actually protects this product. I always get a kick out of it because whenever I see reviews on Amazon or something, people will be like, it rusted right away, and it's that's what it's actually supposed to do. So we really like the look, but you could see on the inside here, I don't quite like the look anymore because it is just filled with weeds. I'm trying to figure out a way to keep the little animals off of this. You'll see that we have a chipmunk hole right here. There's another one right through here, so they like to bury the peanuts. It's partially my fault because I do feed the chipmunks some peanuts. But you'll see groundhogs sitting on top of here because we put it on our deck. Like animals and birds, they love an outpost. So this will be like the tallest thing on the deck, and they'll just go on top of it and they'll like look out. So I don't know how to keep them off, but one thing for certain is I got to get these weeds out. And the other thing too is you'll see what's left is the sedum. I mean, if you could look past the grass and the goldenrod and the dandelion and the oxalis, you'll see that there's sedum in here. This is one type of sedum, another type, there's a little maybe Angelina sedum right here. And no sempervivums, and these are what I mean by sempervivums, these nice big chunky ones right here with the imbricated leaves and the beautiful geometry. What I've noticed is that the birds tend to eat them, and they are called sempervivums, live forever, and they do happen to be edible. But I always kind of recognize like the blue jays and the robins, they kind of go up onto this and they start pecking at the sempervivums. So I thought that was really interesting. I mean, I'm still going to plant them in here. And the only thing I could think of is maybe if I get a big kind of like wire cloche that I could put something that doesn't look, ugly, because obviously you want to make this look pretty. Another idea that I had was that what if I just put like a really tall one of these, like a nice piece of wood that comes up, and then they would sit on the top there and maybe leave the rest alone. But maybe that's the case for birds, but I can't see something like a groundhog doing that. So if you have any ideas, shoot me off some ideas in the comments below. I mean, we have tables and chairs there and everything, but they just really seem to like to sit on this. And you know what happens when you get like little critters sitting on this? They might drop a berry or something, or they might poop something out, and then all of a sudden you have like a little honeysuckle or something growing in here as well. But I like to keep the general look of this, and I figured one thing I could try is oftentimes I'm planting these small sempervivums. So ones like this I get from Mountain Crest Gardens, which they have so many different cultivars and varieties. And then I went to one of our local farms and I found these big chunky ones. And I was like, maybe I should try one that's like really well established. But I figured let's give it a shot. And then here, let me just grab. I'm going to keep the ones that are well rooted in here while trying to take out the weeds. What's nice about this is that these are so easily rootable. Even if they don't have little roots on it, you could just stick them in there. But what I found out is when I was taking I've got some of the sempervivums that are unrooted, that Mountain Crest sells, and those get pulled out right away. So I'm going to try not to do that as much in this one. And I used a nice Perlite, Espoma Organic Cactus and Succulent mix, and a Bonsai mix for the top. And I've also noticed that we had a really wet summer. We had a wet winter as well in most cases. And I said, I should probably have added a little bit more perlite here, because occasionally we had so much water that there was water sitting in here. So I'm not going to take this whole thing out because part of this is working for me. And I think what I'm going to do is just augment this with a bit more perlite in some sections. So I'm going to take out a lot here because my plan is to take one of those big ones and plant them up in here in the back. Kind of feels like cheating because I've been using all these like small sempervivums, but I really do want to try a large one to see if it's more resistant to the animals. And this could be very much an indoor planting as well. I leave this out in the winter. These are actually all hardy to our zone. So we're in a zone 5-6, and you could see what's actually hardy to your zone. It's pretty amazing because the first time I saw these growing was actually in my uncle's yard, kind of where his stone path is. And he's also in Pennsylvania, so he's like a zone 5-6 in the mountains. I was impressed. I was like, are those hardy? I was a lot younger back then. And he said, yeah, they come back every year. This one I'm always surprised is hardy. This one is Orostachys, and it's Malacophylla. This is the Chinese dunce cap. And these seem so delicate. Like their leaves are not as thick as some of the other succulents, and it gets this amazing, beautiful flower. I have this planted up in another pot elsewhere. So I got another one, but I think this is going to be too delicate because you can see it kind of grows up like that. It's going to be too delicate for the animals that frequent this planting. I could not buy this. It's two negatives in a sentence right there, but this has been sitting in this pot for a while. This is, I got this at Iron Kettle. And I'll just plant this right in there just like this. And what's challenging about it is that it's growing down around the pot. So I'm gonna have to put these little guys up here. And that fills in quite nicely. And you know, I've been sitting on this, it's now like late July when I'm filming this, and I've been sitting on this project for a little while now. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe like half the year is out. I mean, granted, outdoor tasks, you don't really start doing them until maybe March, April, and then it's June, things really start taking off. But by the time July comes around, you're just like, oh my God, where's the time gone? And you know, the days are filled with lots of like little tasks, and sometimes you get up and you're just like, just another little task, and they all build up. And I think you just have to get up during the day and you say, I'm going to finish this task. And this is one of the ones that was on the list of things to do. Let's start planting the rest of this. Now I really like this, the way this looks. I might want to beef it up a little bit more here. Like something like this. Even if I had a stone, a cool stone that I could put in there, but let's do it with soil for right now. There's a little frog in here too. Hi, Mr. Frog, I don't mean no harm. Maybe just a little small one like that, just to bring it up. That's kind of cool. And then you could grow a little bit more under it. I'm putting roughly like 50-50. Now, I could technically go, if I wanted to, another big chunky one right here. But I think I'll leave this one for another plant or another project. Even if I have space in between, I think that's gonna be okay. This one's a nice big one. This one is called Sempervivum Color Rocks Blushing Garnet. And a lot of the ones that I got are the ones that change color. So ones that may look a little blue-green and then they turn bright red in the sun. Kind of like this, which is really great. This one you can see is already pretty red. This one is called Color Rocks Coral Red. I like that we already kind of got this project started, so I'm not filling up this bowl the entire way. Now this is starting to look a little worse for wear. You could see that this has died back a little bit, but I'm gonna keep it because I think we could take maybe this other sedum. So this is a sedum pallidum variation bithynicum. And maybe we could just, almost like a comb over, we'll just do that here. And this is where the chipmunk holes were, so we just have to fill that up a little bit. I don't think there was any chipmunk living there. I just think that it probably buried a couple sunflower seeds or peanuts in that area, and then maybe something else dug it up. Okay, this one also has this beautiful red color, and I love this growth structures. This is Sempervivum hufelii, so this is like a nice hufelii type. And then I have other ones that are a bit more arachnoideum type, so you can see that these with the little cobwebby structures. So I didn't get as many of those this year. These hufelii types I really like. I think their growth structure is really pretty. I'll put that right in between the sedums here. This is also one of my favorite ones. I think the color is gorgeous. Sedum daisiphyllum Himalayan skies. I should have gotten a couple more of these, but you know, they do spread. Let's see, we can maybe go with this one that's like a chocolata. This is called Sempervivum hufelii Chocolata Sundae. And this gets a nice reddish brown color. The other thing we could do to kind of cover some of this is when I use the topper of the bonsai mix, which is this really nice calcined clay, expanded shale, that's another solution. I have this whole back area. Let me spin this around so you can see what I'm looking at. So what I'd like to do maybe is take some of those arachnoideum types, some of the smaller ones. So this one is Gorgeous de Dalu, Sempervivum arachnoideum, and this says that it's actually hardy to -20 degrees Fahrenheit, which if you're in a zone 5, that's what you need to have in order to survive. And you know, these are growing in pots. It's a little easier to kill off these if they're not growing in the ground, because the ground it's got insulative power, I should say, when it's not as insulated in this planter pot that's not in the ground. Okay, this one is Globiferum species hirsutus Emerald Spring. It's another pretty one. Look at that. It has like little red tips on it. Something that might be a little different is these Ruskias. And this is a Pulvinaris shrubby ice plant. And you'll see that you could grow these in your garden as well, these Ruskias. I don't ever see them growing beyond 1 year when I plant them in pots like this. But I got it just because it gives a slightly different form than the Sempervivums and some of the sedums. Sempervivums are also called hens and chicks, and you could take off the chicks just like this, and then you could plant them up elsewhere. So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing, because I think I'm going to run out of, I have a lot more space, so I could take my finger, a little chopstick or a stick or anything that you might have, and you could just poke them right in there. This one is a Globiferum, and again, I got these because they have these little red tips, which I think are really beautiful. I'd like a lot of color in these succulent Buddha bowls. This is another hufelii, Globiferum, subspecies Hirsutus borealis. And these ones right here are Sedum reflexum blue spruces, which I think is an incredible name for them because they do look like a really succulent blue spruce. In fact, I had this blue abies, which is a fir that's planted up top there, and I took a number of these because they to me, they kind of looked like the fir, like on a miniature version. And so I planted a bunch of those in like more of a rock garden type. So these are quite lovely, and they do spread nicely. Although, again, whether they survive the birds and the beasts, we'll see. All right, and then after this, I'm just going to add some bonsai topper to this. Actually, this is a nice one. This is called Sedum Angelina. It's the one that I thought I had growing still right around here. This gets a really nice bright yellow color, and it is a good spreader. It's unfortunate that I only had like one right there, but I'm going to plant it another little section right here, and hopefully it'll start to spread again. But they are really nice. And I planted some in the landscape as well, and some of the stones here. So let's just get that one in there, and let's hope it spreads. And before I mix this bonsai in with the rest of this, but for right now I'm just going to use it as a topper. It also just looks really nice. It makes it look really finished. I'm just gonna water this in, and there are some gaps in here, but the best thing about this is if you wanna just take off a few of these and stick them in, it's so easy to do. For right now, I'm gonna start with this and see how it goes. Maybe put it in a safer place so that the animals aren't necessarily crawling right on it at first. Maybe I could elevate it even more so it's harder for like at least the groundhogs, which are a bit chubbier than a chipmunk, will have a harder time getting up on it. So this is the refresh, and I have all these other little tasks that I need to do just to kind of get a little bit more of a finished look on the decks and the patios. This is where we've landed, and on to the next project. We're doing group botanical tours later this year next to Costa Rica and Thailand. Go to homesteadbrooklyn.com, click the Learn tab, and head over to Botanical Tours for more information, or find the link below in the description. And if it's something that you'd like to do in the future, be sure to sign up so you know when next trips launch. We'll see you in the next video or on one of the tours.